We all know Bold Form's Gladius from that infamous Jobby video where it made him go insane. Well, I don't ever want that toy. It was a really cool effort and a cool concept by one dude to make it like by himself, but because of that, it got hit with so many issues. I have handled Gladius before at a TFCon when they were literally just trying to get rid of them, and yeah, it's not great. So when I got Zeta Toy Superion in, it felt a lot like that in a lot of ways. It's making me go nuts every time I have to handle it like Silverbolt or Firefly. They're just not very good. I have handled my fair share of fiddly toys, but this one, oh man, do I not like this one. I'll still link the site I got it from below so you can check them out if you really want one of these or any other wacky ass things, because Surtoys is Surtoys. I have something really epic from them on the way though, so I'm super excited for when that shows up. He also said he threw so many things in the box and I'm very worried as to what I might find in there. So we'll start from the best to worst because some of the figures here are actually pretty good and some are really bad. So the best one out of the bunch here is Skydive. It's the most solid one out of the group, at least on my copy. Skydive here looks actually pretty good. I do like the two-tone arms. The red on the torso looks great with the black. I also like the dark gray on the legs. It's die-cast, so it feels pretty nice. Now, one of the things this set has that's consistent between all the limb guys is the shit. All of the crap that they have. Floppy wings, floppy hands, floppy feet, no heels, crappy faces, backpacks that don't tab in or fall off. Skydive doesn't have most of those issues. His wings are solid, the backpack is extremely secure, but that's it. He still has the really floppy ass feet, like really floppy feet, the abysmal head design, and this isn't even the worst one. Hands aren't super floppy on their rotational joints, but the transformation hinges, they're very floppy. And he has no heels, so he loves to lean back constantly. These feel very rushed, and they kind of are. I'll show you why, well, right now actually. Let's get on with Air Raid. Air Raid made me realize that these are just their MP versions, but scaled down. And that's not a good thing. The big ones are designed to be big, with lots of room to move all the hinges and panels, and with more room to put things like heels. The little guys don't have that luxury. These are small, and they desperately needed their own engineering because masterpiece level of complexity doesn't really work well here. And that type of complexity can work at this scale. New Age did it great with Optimus, but Zeta took an already clunky and outdated engineering scheme and made it smaller and more shit. Air Raid here looks really cool though. His face isn't that bad and the color breakup is actually pretty good. I much prefer the way the wings fold up on the little version as opposed to the bigger one, but the big one is more enjoyable to mess with because everything, doesn't want to fight you at every point. Air Raid still has all the issues I mentioned previously that make him super unenjoyable to mess with. I'm not going to go through them again because you just heard me say them, so moving on. Slingshot is where the Bold Forms Gladius comparison starts. Like I said, y'all remember the one that made Jobby go nuts. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Then you'll really grasp what I'm trying to say here. This is the floppiest figure I own, and I own Earthrise RC. Now that will change as soon as I get to Silverbolt, but I want to show you what I mean. The hips are so loose, the wings do not stay where I want them to stay. They're very floppy and move every time I pose him. The backpack hates life, refusing to stay tabbed in. Sometimes it will, most of the times it won't. The arms are really loose, and in almost every place except the bicep. The torso falls to bits all the time, not to mention getting it into robot mode is an extreme hassle because of the stupid arm transformation. It's a real shame, because he's my favorite of the aerial bots, because I love his alt mode, but the robot just hates existing. If I shake it, it just falls apart, and that's not fun. Fireflight was the first one I opened, and oh my god, that face. That face. Who did, oh my god. When I first saw this, I felt like Vangelis did when he did that like 1/6 scale toy unboxing way back in the day. I laughed so hard. It's so goofy. Oh man, look at it. He's so happy that he's a piece of shit. Like, it doesn't bother him. This toy also sucks though. It has literally all the same problems as Slingshot because they're the same mold essentially. And even worse is that the hinge section for the backpack has broken off. So that's fun. I wasn't even doing anything. I literally picked it up and it fell off and the thing was cracked. I'm like, ah, great. That's not the only point of breakage either, but I'll show you that later. I do really love the red and white though. The combo works super well, and the shade of red is super pleasing on the eye. It also likes to fall to bits, and it's a pretty poo transformation, just like Slingshot, but the worst one of the set is Silverbolt. Silverbolt will not stay in one piece. Like legit, it just falls apart. Tabbing the torso section in is super hard, and then when you do, it just comes apart super easily. The chest panels here aren't glued in, so they slide out all the time, and I've lost one for a couple days. The head comes off really easily because the ball joint on mine was cracked right out of the box. The backpack comes off, and it's not like it just comes off at its tab, it legit just falls out. It's meant to come out for the combined mode. For an aesthetic option, you can remove the backpack, but it really hurts the robot mode, and the joints in general are just really bad. Oh, and his bicep comes off when I rotate it, so that's great. Amazing design, Zeta. Amazing. It looks very good though. The color combos, the die-cast feet, the tooling, it's all nice, but it doesn't make up for its shoddy build quality. They all have die-cast in them, and that's not good in this case. Zeta decided that putting money towards die-cast was better than putting money towards refining the designs. And while die-cast gives off that sense of, like, that feel of quality, it can't really do that when the rest of the product sucks. Die-cast is not essential in most cases. Maybe if the toy is big and it needs a stable base, then sure, die-cast feet or die-cast lower legs. But like, these guys didn't need it, and it makes the combined modes suffer, the robot modes suffer, the alt modes. Well, the alt modes aren't that bad, but you'll see what I mean in a minute. If they took their focus away from insisting on having metal and put it towards refining the design, it would have been a lot better. Then what's funny to me is that the bigger ones, at least Air Raid here, don't have an ounce of die-cast on them at all, so I don't get it. Maybe they wanted to give off the feeling of expensive, but that isn't the case because these are like 35 bucks a pop. Posing on all the limbs is the same, so I'm just gonna go with one of them here. And they are pretty good at posing. Their joints are plentiful but loose as hell, and they bend in weird ways. Like, they have extremely long forearms and long shins, which make bending the elbows and knees awkward, and their lack of heels really make it hard for the arm guys to stand when you put them in a pose. The arm bots and leg bots though do have different feet design, but they all do similar things. However, the arm bots are a bit more stable when standing up. Posing on Silverbolt is pretty good. He has ankle tilts forward and back at the feet, and ab crunch, double elbows, but it's all kind of useless when the toy's falling apart as you go to move it. The arms just rotate, like I said, off the thing. The backpack just comes off. Like I said, it's designed to come off, but it's not necessary. It just ruins the thing. The head, when I go to pose it, it just pops off quite a bit. I hate this figure. Transforming them is also a pain in the ass. It's how fiddly the legs and torso are for the limb bots. They just like to fight you, and the tolerances of their stupid leg sliders, I've stabbed myself several times on their wings trying to slide them up, and the arm bots' torso sections are really annoying to just pull back out when going into robot mode. Silverbolt's transformation is just more of a suggestion. The tabs don't hold the backpack together, and like they refuse to cooperate when tabbing the whole thing into the robot. I find it a lot easier to parts form it and reassemble it and then to do it in just one go, because it's bad. The jets actually look amazing. Yeah, they're jets with robots underneath, but when are they not? They look fantastic. I really like the unique shaping each jet has. It feels a lot nicer than the Combiner Wars one, where they all just felt the same. I don't know jet specifics other than Concorde, but they do look great as a set. Silverbolt can even do the droop snoot. They also look really good decorating a Titan or any of the other like modulators or whatever. So that's really cool. That's one of the reasons I like Legends toys quite a bit. I love all the little panel lines on the limb bots, but Silverbolt doesn't really have that, making him feel a bit like the odd one out, but it's not too bad. Far from Silverbolt's biggest problem, which is his inability to stay in jet mode. The jets don't really do anything else, so on to what people probably buy this set for. Superion. Combining them is making the limbs how you would expect them to go, and getting them in limb mode ain't that bad. Then you realize the torso is just a thing you slide Silverbolt into. And you might think, oh, but in Minosaur's video you said you didn't mind that. Yeah, that's because the torso became something. This is just a chunk of nothing, like New Age's Devastator. Superion looks great. I'm super happy with the visuals of this thing. It's really nice to look at. I love the sort of glossy finish this guy has, and I really like how it's not too big either for a Legends Combiner. It's smaller than my Magic Square Minosaur upscale, but I like that. Minosaur to me has always been this imposing brute, so this just works really well to have them next to each other. They legit look great fighting with each other on the shelf. I'll put them in some poses here so you can see what they actually look like, because they look pretty sick. Okay, well, I was going to do a little segment where I had these two standing next to each other in different poses, and I was trying to get like an arm ripped off thing. But he has not aged well. There's a lot of things that I need to fix. And he refuses to hold anything. Stupid hands. There he goes. I really hate this thing. Now I'm going to do my problems with the toy handheld, because I feel like that's the best way I can articulate the issues in combined mode. So here they are. Oh, okay. So Superion sucks. Like, he looks cool standing there. He definitely looks cool standing there next to this thing. But man, let's just start. So the first issue that I have with this thing is like it's just a little aesthetic issue, and it's just the head's very flat. It just kind of ends. Like, it doesn't. I mean, the optional head, which by the way you do get an optional cartoon head, but I prefer the toy one. The cartoon head looks a lot better. Like, it does look a lot better the way that it's constructed, as opposed to this really flat toy head, or the other way around. I don't know which one's which, but you know, I like this head, but it's very flat. Not a huge fan of that. Now onto the actual like build issues with this thing. So to start with, of course, we already have the extremely floppy wings of this thing, and the fact that when you go to move the arms around, they start to just come undone. You see that right there? And now the arms come undone and the wings come unfolded. This one here, you have to make sure that you get all of this done in a super specific way. Otherwise, the hip section here will bump into this and you won't be able to move the arm past that. So you have to make sure everything is tucked away that neatly. It's so stupid. You have to do it that neatly. And then this one as well also does the stupid, like... Okay, that was me untabbing it, but... Wow, it's on camera, it's not going to do it. But this one, yeah, there you go. Just comes undone. That is pain. These bits here get in the way quite a bit. They also come off fairly easily, which is kind of annoying. They were packed separately, and they like to flex a bit. That's kind of scary. Also, you notice he's leaning back a little bit? Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Next up is the hands. Fold down. Well, I really like the way that the hands are done, right? The thumbs, they tend to just come off all the time. That's super annoying. And that won't go back on. There we go. They're really thin C-clips, and there that one goes too. They're really thin C-clips, and it's just... Oh, this thing is... I'm starting to get the feeling it's not built great. Who says that again? I can't remember who says that, but somebody else says that. I didn't make that up. Now, the backpack here. Stop leaning backwards. The backpack here is pretty... It's pretty self-contained. It's starting to already come apart there. God damn it. And there that goes. It falls apart quite a bit. It does. Okay, the leaning. It's bothering me. I have to talk about it. So he's leaning a little bit, as you notice, right? Like, I can get him to stand up, but as soon as I move him, he starts to lean. So the hips here. The hips here are built on a slider mechanism. Fold up. There we go. They're on a slider, so you can shift them forward, like so. And that allows you to get an even higher kick, which I really appreciate. But it is the most wobbly slider I've ever seen. Like, it's a very wobbly hip section. And the fact that there's a little bit of play in the ratchets too don't really help this. And you just kind of get that. And so you stand him up and he just wants to lean. It's very bothersome. Now the hips, I think they're supposed to be ratcheted. Because they ratchet, but this one here, there's so much play in the middle of this one specifically, it's ratchets. And this one doesn't really have that. I don't understand. I don't get it. And then like the loose thigh swivels, I can fix that easily. They're on screws. So that's not that big of an issue. My next issue is with the knees. They're too high up for me. Like, if you look at Magic Square's Minosaur here, move the hip skirt out of the way, the knees are quite a ways down. Whereas on this one, they start right there, which is a bit annoying. Like, that's not a huge issue. That's just a design thing. A lot of toys do that. My dog's barking. But it's still annoying. Oh, and he's leaning already. He does have an ab crunch. Okay, I didn't realize that. In my script at some point, I say that he doesn't have an ab crunch. Oh, it's after this. He does have an ab crunch. It looks like, oh, it's supposed to be ratcheted, but it's not. You can see the ratchet, like the teeth there. It's not ratcheted, and the backpack's coming undone again. This sucks. You can take it off, but like I don't know where to put it. Oh, another thing I forgot. The arms come untabbed again. Stop it. Another thing that I forgot to mention about the torso is you get this piece, right? This little like panel here, which looks really cool. You can peg it into here to give like an alternate. I unplugged the backpack again. An alternate torso option, right? But it just like it didn't come off there. It just like comes off. There's too much plastic here, and I have to shave it off to like put it on. But come on, that shouldn't be an issue right out of the box. There it goes again. It shouldn't be an issue right out of the box. That's unfortunate. Oh, and there's no locking point for like the hips when they're up here. So every once in a while, like this one's pretty stiff, but this one, you go to like bend the arm and there it's come untabbed at the hip right there. That's really annoying. Oh, and the backpack's come undone on this guy. God damn it. God damn it. No, peg in, you idiot. I'm not editing this. This whole thing, other than the dog barking, is staying because you're gonna suffer with me. Come on, there we go. Now the legs. Let's move this down all MGO style here so I can talk about the legs. They look neat, like they look cool. That's too zoomed in. But this one here, everything sort of like locks away really securely back here, so that when you go to move the foot, like it's not that bad. There, it's okay. There's my big issue. You didn't really see that because the camera's too low. This is why I don't do handheld. I moved it and now it's come undone. That's my issue with the tap in, you stupid dumb piece of trash. So you move the foot forward, yeah, you move the foot back, yeah, you move the foot forward again. See? This one's actually pretty secure. This one, watch right here. There's so much play in the shin, and there it goes, it's untabbed itself. Yay. I don't know. He has a pretty stable base. Every time I put him in a combined configuration though, this side is longer than this side. By like a hair, it's longer. So he stands at a bit of an angle. It's so annoying. It looks really good. It looks really good, but it's so shite. It's so poop, and there goes the hip. Like if you don't want the... Stop leaning. If you don't want the backpack, you can literally just remove Silverbolt and just take the whole thing off somehow. Untransform Silverbolt here. You can just take the backpack off because it wants to come off anyways. But like you shouldn't have to do all that. And if you're going to include that, it shouldn't be like a detriment to the figure, because, you know, the thing's got to actually function like it's meant to. There you go. Clean back. Clean back. Here's the weak ass backpack. Get out of here. That looks really good, but it's just, there's so much wrong with this thing. Like these are just really annoying. Anyways, before I get even more upset with this stupid thing, let's get back to the posing part. Posing on the combiner is alright, but not perfect because the arms fall apart and the torso has side-to-side crunch. And as I discovered in the previous clip, it has an ab crunch, which is cool. The hands are super expressive with the ball joints at each knuckle and a bunch of knuckles in the actual finger. The legs are also weird on mine because like he's slightly taller on one side than the other. I feel like there's something happening there that's not great. And as I mentioned, the hip slider is really floppy. So yeah, not sure if it's a worthy pickup. I mean, it does look great. Like it looks very good in combine mode and in jet mode, but the rest of the package is just not fun at all. And it's a toy. It's meant to be fun. I know it's more of a display toy, but it's still a toy, and it still fails at being fun. It's not inviting me to mess with. It's not fun to pose. It's not fun to transform. And in robot modes, it's not fun to look at. I mean, for the price of each that I paid, it's not that bad, honestly. 35 for each limb, 50 for the torso. For third-party prices, that's pretty good. But it's still a lot of money you are throwing at something that only looks good. And if that's all you really want and you feel it's worth it, then yeah, go get it. But anything else, I'd say skip it. Like, we've had $30 third-party Legends Combiner toys that are very good. Case in point, the Kang Toys Mini Firmament. Kang Toys, when are we getting the rest of him? But this is just, I'd say avoid it. But that's been my look at Zeta Toys Superion. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I may get their Primus, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.